I, Woodrow Wilson.
I, Warren Harding.
I, Calvin Coolidge.
I, Herbert Clark Hoover.
I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully
5 men sat in the White House between 1919 and 1933. 2 were great, 2 were average, and 1 was a bad president. And the greatest of these was the most hated. The fact that he was also for a time the most beloved man on earth made the tragedy of Thomas Woodrow Wilson even greater.
The world must be made safe for democracy.
When Wilson went to Europe the first time, the world's heartbeat was with him. In France, they lighted candles in his honor. He was cheered as no conqueror ever was. In Rome, his picture hung in almost every home. His was a glory far exceeding Caesar's. In England, his path from the Channel coast to Charing Cross station was strewn with flowers. This, indeed, was a man of peace. But less than a year later, the man of peace was a mere man of politics. He had made 2 trips to Europe and spent 6 months at that green baize table with Clemenceau, Orlando, and Lloyd George. He had laid his 14 points containing his league before them, and to keep his dream alive had been forced to compromise and conciliate, barter and bargain to such an extent that the product he brought home for approval was already suffering from the anemia, which was the old world's chronic disease.
Gentlemen of the Senate, the Treaty of Peace with Germany was signed at Versailles on the 28th of June. I avail myself of the earliest possible opportunity to lay the treaty before you for ratification. My brothers, the stage is set. The destiny disclosed. We cannot turn back. America shall improve, show the way.
He had been back less than 30 days when he realized that he was losing his battle, that his moment was slipping away from him. Although a majority of the American voters and most newspapers favored the League, Senator Henry Cabot Lodge had marshaled sufficient forces of jingoism to kill it. So, for the first time in a non-election year, an American president boarded a train and took his fight to the people.
I have not come here to debate this treaty. It speaks for itself, if you will let it. I am going to expound, to urge you here in Columbus to assert the spirit of the American people in support of it. Do not let men pull it down.
And the opposition followed him across the country. Senator William Borah in Chicago.
It took George Washington 7 years to gain independence from George III. And now, my friends, they want to give it back to George V.
The president made as many as 5 and 6 speeches a day, but he was smiling less now.
I can predict with absolute certainty that within another generation there will be another world war if the nations of the world do not concert this method by which to prevent it.
The crowd roared, "Impeach Wilson," as Hiram Johnson shouted,
He is asking us to hand American destiny over to the secret councils of Europe. It is the duty of the senators of this nation to keep America American.
Wilson was picking up momentum. He had whipped Johnson in his own California. In Salt Lake City, his ovation was thunderous. On September 25th, he made his 40th speech in 22 days. It was his best one, and it was his last.